G'day, so I'm going to redo this door with a vinyl. I'll show you from start to end. I've already had 2 doors that I've practiced with, and I've found that the best method to do is, well, take this off. When you put this back on, just use duct tape or something around just to stick it back on. A bit of glue if you want. Right, so you need to get all these things out. You'll have to replace all that with screws. And so I have made the mistake of using a drill bit on its own and taking the tops off on one of the doors. And most of them were okay, but sometimes the drill bit catches and digs right in and takes too much out. And those spots I've had to use something else to repair it with. Or maybe it didn't need repairing, like that one there is pretty close to those 2 there, so I might have just skipped it if that one was buggered. Anyway, you can see I've gone through with a drill bit and a few of these already. I've found that this is going to be the best solution for the big ones. So I'll show you just a contraption like that. I'm sure you can get some sort of drill bit that only allow a certain amount to stick at the top, but if you don't, just build yourself something like that. Get your drill bit over the top. Just like that. That went next to it, so that does happen. Like you can see up here, that one there went next to it. But most of them are okay. I'll give this one a go. So that was a good one. So don't want to dig into it too much. Now there's other ways you can get at it. I can try to use a razor blade. Just work your way with it. This stage is one of the most important stages because putting them back together will depend on how good you pull it apart. If you're too rough of it and you break too much, then you're going to really find it challenging to put it back together. See that there? So you can do that. It's time consuming, but you can do that and just take your time with it. I'm going to do the rest of this and we'll get some next stage. So the area I'm working with is here all the way down to here. So everywhere that's got those little things. It's probably going to take me a good hour of doing that. The rest of the door's quick. It's just this part here is the slowest part. But putting it back together is quick as well because you're not going to be spending forever taking these off. You're just going to be putting screws in, and you're going to probably need about 50 screws a door. And if you're skillful enough, I don't recommend this, but if you're skillful enough and there's some that you can't get into properly, and because I'm using the sockets, I can have something that's going to allow me to control the drill bit a bit. Like that. So the ones that are hard to get, do that and you'll be right. So I'm just about finished here. I'm using the drill the way I have been. It's probably taking me 20 minutes to get to here, so a lot quicker than doing it the other ways I've been trying. Now, do not use heat. So heat the area up. I've already tried that. Heat the area up to make them soft so you can pull it out, but then you've got to do one by one, and you chance heating up too much in the wrong area, and it's just a bad idea. All of these are pretty much all done by the drill. Some of them are going to have to touch up, like this one here that's going to come out, so that's all ready to pull apart. There's one there that I've got to get to. I'll try that one again with the drill. And it'll look like this one. Okay, that's enough. It's enough that I'll pull through like that, see? Don't go too hard on the drill, seriously. If it catches, you'll regret it. Now these last 2 over here, I'm going to try and remove with a different tool, because if it works, I'll try it on the speaker cover there, because that's the hardest one. They're only really tiny, so if you dig too deep or break them, that's really hard to get back on. So this is for repairing bumpers and stuff. Give this a go. That's the only downfall, isn't it, with this tool, because it's designed to do that. Probably a hot iron that has that type of tip would be really good. I'm only trying this for the first time, so take this with a grain of salt. I don't know if it's going to work out for me. So far, so good. Definitely working out pretty good. Wish I'd thought about this one earlier. There you go. Geez, that made life simple. $20 tool. It's only a cheapie, but that made life a lot easier getting that off. I'll just clean that up with a drill bit later. But I'll show you the speaker hole itself. You can see how you don't have much to play with. I've got to come along with the blade and clean all these up, but try not to take too much off. That's a guide, that one. So there's a little bit there. And you've got to get some really fine screws to put in here. That's a guide as well. It's a clean-up job now. If you don't clean everything up, ready for to go back together, it's going to make life hard. You've got to clean all this up. Same as I pull all this apart now. I missed one. That tool definitely makes this part of the job easier. I want. The handle and everything came off. If I really wanted to, I could use this piece as a template. It's all still intact. I could put that back on, I guess. Put that back on. Okay, so that's pretty much how it goes back on. I could re-stick that and put it back on if I wanted to keep that original look. The top here, I think it's shrunk, that's why it comes off, because you can see where it sticks to there, and this doesn't quite make, I don't know if you can see it, but I'll tilt the camera to show you a bit better. Okay, you can see how it's not coming up to the end where it should. So it should be up here, but then everything else is out of line. Now I find that using that there, if you can see it in the camera, that's my guide from when I'm relaying, but I go over that because having the vinyl past those holes there was okay when putting the other doors back together. But you've got to make sure there's two stages. First I'm going to lay down the foam, and that's going to be in this area here, probably stopping about here, and then the vinyl will go the rest of the way, because you can't have the foam and the vinyl together at the holes. When you put it back together, there's just too much thickness there to try and compress it all together, and it doesn't look good. Actually getting a bit ahead of myself there. So with the other doors, what I actually did was peeled this off as well and cleaned it all up, because my original plan was I was going to paint them, so that's why I peeled all that off. And I'd washed them. Oh, this stuff was really hard to get off, the adhesive. I used thinners, Mefo, Terps, dissolve it, all sorts of things trying to get the adhesive off. Ended up coming with sandpaper in a lot of areas, and the thinners, anybody knows with thinners and plastic don't mix, so you have to be really quick with thinners when cleaning, because it becomes sticky, and if it's there for too long then it starts to like heat, it starts to make the plastic soft. So be careful if you're using thinners. But I'm going to leave this one on this time. I'm going to stick the foam and the vinyl directly to how it is here. So give it a good clean up first. Harder bristles would make this part of the job easier. Just trying to squeeze it, they're trying to make it, just trying to squeeze it and make it harder for some parts of the jobs. Got a bit of loose overhang here, I might trim that off, get a razor along here, trim the loose part off. And the reason why I didn't continue with the painting, because the painting part was starting to look really good. The front door was done and it was looking good. But then I came to the back door, and like this one here, it's got that push hole out. So then you can imagine, if you could see that from the other side, someone's going to come along and push it one day, because that's what just people do. And then you end up with a hole in the door. And you could probably glue it or something, but I thought, nah, it's just going to be too unattractive. If I was to glue it from the other side, then I'd have to spend time on this side sanding it and spending too much time with it. So I gave up on the painting idea and went ahead with doing this. Okay, that's pretty good now. I'll just clean this here up. So that'll do. If the beginning of this footage has spots that's got no audio, that's my fault. I didn't realise that there's a radio playing softly in the background. Wasn't paying any mind to it. Now this foam stuff I got for $15 a square metre. Square metres are all I needed. And I did originally cut it. The first door I originally cut it to try and the size, and I was a little bit undersized of what I wanted to do and had to redo it. So for the rest of the doors, including this one, I'll cut it once it's laid. I make the mistake so you don't. See, I came down to here thinking that is where it bent, is where I was going to cover over, but it's not. It's further down. So it's better to overhang that all the way down to where the screw holes are. Where I got the foam to would have been perfect, but I didn't take it down that far. So, but the rest of the door looked good had I not made that mistake. This part here, have to spray both surfaces first, then leave it a minute or two before sticking both surfaces together. I first do this side here to get it to stick, and then I'll come to the other side in a minute, you'll see. Wear gloves if you really need to. Okay, that's all wet still, so I'm just going to let that dry now. Tag the mosquito in the process if you can see that. Part of the job now. Alright, so I'm just going to leave that for a minute or two and then I'll come back and stick it down. Okay, so we'll stick this side down now. Now flip the foam over. Okay, so I've already gone ahead and stuck that down. You saw how I did the first part, same deal. Kind of like putting a sticker down there, you know, or a tint. You know, you got to move along with it. A lot easier than doing tint though. Cut the excess off, so I didn't have to worry about that. Now we're going to just come along on the inside here. Just like that. Okay, so the speaker hole done last, this part here done last. Wait till it's all together first and then get to it from the other side to cut what you want off there. If I do it now and it pulls too much one way, then you're going to have a problem. And that's it, so I'm going to just do that last bit there and then we'll get ready for the next stage of putting the vinyl down. The vinyl, it doesn't really matter which way you lay it because it's all patterned up every other way. Now, I made a mistake with doing the first door, the back door, so I'm lacking in vinyl. So this last piece is just enough. If I cover it on an angle, I'll cover the whole door, so there's just enough here to do this job. If I was to do it like this, see, wouldn't cover that way. If I was to do it like that, wouldn't cover there. If I was to bring it further up, like that, then it's not covering this corner properly, just that tiny little bit, but still. So I'll put it on this way, and the whole door is covered. Yeah. Happy days. And just to mention, there's only enough in one of these cans for 2 doors, or 3 doors technically. I'm using this one for the first time. I don't know how good it's going to be, but so far it's been pretty good. I've used other products like from Super Cheap and so forth, and they're okay for a couple of months, but then they let go, and so no point using them. I don't know what your experience is, but I tried to do my own roof and so forth once before, and like I said, it stuck for about a month, maybe 2. Everything looked great, and then it started to let go, and just adhesives I've used from Super Cheap just were no good, so I don't touch their products anymore for that particular product anymore anyway. This is something new, give it a go. Alright, so I've got that laid now, and if you get oversprayed, don't worry about that, you can wipe that off later. And you can see little imperfections. That's because of the memory in the vinyl. Once that sits for a while, that's all going to straighten up, so that's not a problem there. I'm not going to trim it like the other doors. I'm going to try something different. So the other doors I bring it right up to here. This time I'm overlapping, and I'm going to make the holes through the vinyl So this way the vinyl can never come out, because it'll be that, you know, it'll have it behind on the other side of those holes. So I'm trying something different. So just setting up my iron. So I'm going to come from the other side, and I'm going to go through all these holes here with the iron and make them. I don't know a better way to do that than with an iron. Just stinks a bit. And the speaker one is a trick, because I'm poking this side, but it's not. I already know it's not coming through the other side properly, but it's marking it enough to know where I need to push it from the other side. See how it didn't really make all that much of a hole there, but now I've got the spots I know where I'll press. Another one down there. No, I can see daylight through the whole lot of them, so they're all done. A couple there, same deal. Can't get through all the way because the hole's too small, but make a mark on this side so you can know where they are on this side. Now with all these here, I don't want to make the mistake I did with the front door. Alright, something to be mindful of. So on the back there, you got all the holes that I put a hot iron through, and I got one hole too many, so I just plugged that in with a little grommet. When I realised there was an extra hole, I was thinking, what would there be an extra hole there for? That's the driver's door. See the design of the handle? It's different. Same car, different handle. So you could have that design, which explains that hole. You can have that design, which means that there could be a hole up here for the other handle. So probably put the other handle on to match both sides up, and put a grommet in there like I did on that side. You don't really notice it anyway. It's kind of hidden behind the handle. So that's okay. That's a guide hole. Okay, I think I've got everything except for one corner, which is up here. I didn't poke that one through because I'm pretty sure, if I can just give it a bit of a look. You can see that. See that square section there? See that section there? I'm pretty sure that there's a part of a clip that goes through that, and it's got a clip onto over here. So I'm going to get the blade and just cut that hole out. Like I said at the beginning of the clip, you want to go over all these areas and clean it. Should have done that first. I just had a few people come over in between, or making videos and talking and whatnot, and I'd forgotten to come back and clean all this first. But no worries, it doesn't have to be done first, it can be done last. Just like that, just taking the tops off. You see these bits coming out, just being level with that. I'm not being 100% either. Like if I'm a little bit higher than that, that's fine. Okay, pretty much that's what I'm doing. You can see how it looks afterwards, hopefully. Just cleaning it all up so I can put the screws in. And you've got to be careful of these ones here too, I didn't mention it. The thickness of everything is going to help, but you're going to have to keep your finger on this side here, and as soon as you feel the tip of that screw coming through, don't go any further unless you can find a shorter screw. That's what I've done with the others. I just had my finger on the other side. As soon as I felt the tip, backed off that tiny bit. So it's nice and smooth. It's got its own vinyl on there, so you can't see it. When you feel that tip come through, you back off and you don't see that you've actually had something there. But that's what I'm doing. I don't want to go finding a whole bunch of screws to fit each section, so I'm pretty much using the same screw throughout the whole lot. And for the bigger screws that's needed, I just go through my little box of screws and find things that fit. Okay, so what I'm doing right now is just putting the door back together. So you saw the last stage of when I was covering it. What I'm doing right now is putting it back on. I'll get to the handle part in a minute and show you a little trick I did with the other doors that work a treat. So don't over tighten anything. And so I'll put my hand on the other side just so I can feel that if it's going to be too long, that's okay. Almost done on this side. Don't over tighten it either, because you're only working with soft plastic. You over tighten it and then you're going to have to put in a bigger screw because you'll thread it. When you feel that little bit of tension there, you know that's enough. I'm going to have to find some more screws now because I still need to do the door handle. Okay, so I'll show you a little trick I did with the door handle, because you've got these points here, one there, that you need to get this handle into. Obviously you can't push that in there, it's not going to happen. So what I'm going to do is just going to give this a bit of a cut here. Now, this is where I made a mistake, so don't make the same mistake. I forgot to cut the foam around that section there. Should be okay still, just might make it a bit tighter. But this is going to allow the vinyl to stretch around the corners as it gets in. I'm going to break that foam as well. Okay. Now we're going to get this door handle in position. A couple of screws. A little bit of a trick. Screw through to the other side. Might just do focus on one screw to start off with. Pretty sure that's how I did it the first time. Let's get the one in and then work on the other. I get a bit of wood on the other side. I'll show you in a minute. I'll turn it around. Tighten this up and it'll pull in. Okay, and when doing this, do have a washer on that, and don't overdo it, because right now it's not completely tightened up. I'll come back to it a little bit later and go a little bit more, but this is to stop that plastic part there You can see it there. That's to stop that from the inside breaking. I nearly made that mistake once. I learnt by it real fast, so it didn't end up being a problem. That foam is just making it a little bit trickier there, but it's okay. Couple of days. Still that way. Okay, you see that screw's coming through there, hopefully, right there. So we'll get the screwdriver into that. Timber up. Not looking too bad, eh? Bigger ones here. I found some wood screws. Actually, I found the bigger screw for here. I'm going to leave that one in there because it's fairly long. But these wood screws do the job here perfectly. Don't over tighten it. A little bit on the long side. I've felt it, just that tip come through there. It's a little bit too long. There's the little black bits that I cut off the door earlier. Just use them as spacers. I'll bring it up. Beautiful. Still not doing the speaker yet. We're going to do the door handle now. This is part of the door handle. That's got to come off before you can put the handle back in. Alright. Let's put this on. Okay, so we're going to have to cut a bit back here. That's why it's being a bit of a struggle there. The foam is just being a bit of a problem. Yeah, I should have cut that foam away first before laying the vinyl. That part I had forgotten about, but that's what happens when you do a couple of doors and have a couple of days break because of life. And you come back to it and you try to remember how you did the first ones. Not to worry. Cut here, here, just to help it with coming around the edge. Give it another go. In, feels good. Now let's power window switch. Alright, it's on. Didn't hear the click, but it's on. Cool. I can take these back out now. They're no longer needed because I've got enough screws in here holding it on now that you don't need that. I really wanted to show you a smooth video of doing this. I just didn't expect the life events of the day. It's not long enough. Still not ready to cut that yet. I've got to put the speaker on. The speaker cover. So get some small screws there. We'll make sure that they go in first. Make sure we've got a screwdriver that will fit them first. One. So while I was finding a screwdriver, this is a polyurethane bar I was using. The other one that I decided to use brute force with at the, I think it was along there, maybe it was, no, it was over here. The thing you don't want to do is just pull the trim apart thinking that these will pop off, because you know, I already did one door and this is the second door, and I thought, you know, I might just pull it apart at this last section here, hoping, well, thinking that these would just pop off, but they stayed on and ripped off from the door here. So what I did was, with a blowtorch, just heated up that like as if it was hot glue, and I just pressed it into those areas. It's you know, it's a dicky way of fixing something, but it's never going to break. It just makes it harder for the next person to redo the door. But if they're clever enough, they'll know just to cut along the edge. Like, important step I should say, make sure the screws go in first, because when I did it before and I didn't do this step, it was really tricky getting the screws in what was in there. But anyway, I'm going to call it quits for tonight. I'll finish that off tomorrow and I'll probably take the cover back off. What's going to happen is, once that's on properly, that's when I come over and finish this off here. I'll cut it around, but not until that speaker cover's on properly, so all the screws and everything is like, that's going to be pressed against it, it's going to hold everything in place, and then I'll take that off. Righto, so I don't use stick is wrong. Some of these screws here, especially the ones along here and along here, for some reason this door panel is being a little bit different to the others. These screws are just a little bit too long. Along the tops, perfect. Along there, perfect. You know, along the back here, perfect. But just for some reason, they're a little bit long there. So just trimming those down. Just nip the top of the screws off and that's fine. So I'll bring it down probably, I don't know, 2 maybe 3 mil from the end of the screw. Tightens up and doesn't push through the other side. Okay, so this step here is important, that to put the cover on first. So when I cut this away, that the screws are pressed against it, holding everything in place. It's not going to allow the vinyl to stretch away. And I'm not going to cut all the way to the plastic. I'm going to cut pretty much how you can see how the old way went. Like that, just around the edges there. Now I should have cut this foam away first before laying the vinyl. That would have made this step, next step, a lot easier. And if you're wondering why I put the foam in between, because the foam allows a little bit of flex. So when the vinyl pulls or shifts against the foam, there's a little bit of play there allowed, so less chance of the glue breaking free and the vinyl dangling. I've had that happen before. When doing a different car, I've put vinyl straight to the plastic. Everything looked great, but it only lasted a couple of months and came separate. So I have found that with doing other things, to put the foam in between does help. Now I've just scrounged around with finding whatever screws I have, so I can use there. Just make sure they're all fit, and make sure that they're all under 10 mil long. I'm just going to put this in now. Okay, so you can see I've cut that piece there out. It's got a little bit of overhang, so make sure you got a little bit of overhang. That just allows it to hold it all in place properly. I was able to find some small washers around, so I put some small washers behind the screws there, helped pull it in tighter. I wish I could say this is all the sizes you need, but you're just going to have to work with it. If this was something I did on a regular basis, then I'd have a plan for it and say these screws go here, these screws go there. Anyway, you got the basics of it. You watch me put it together, and I've gone over the mistakes I've made, so to help you if you're going to do this, not to make those same mistakes. And it's looking pretty good now. Just need to clean up. When that relaxes, there's just a little bit of tiny gap at the bottom there, but when that relaxes, that'll all pull in anyway. Everything's working, everything's great. Beautiful. I'll show you in the car. Much better than dangling material. Actually, when old mate got this car, all these panels were off. Some of the handles were missing, so he's had to buy them. It's just, this car was a complete mess. You should never have got it. He knew that, but no worries. At least I can help him out and fix the car up so he can try and sell it, get something out of it. Everything looks nice in here and everything good. Needs a good clean up. That's the last thing to do. Give the car a bit of a detail. Anyway, I hope that was helpful. I hope you got a few hints out of that in what I was doing, and if you want to tackle it yourself, what to do. But make sure you use plenty of spray glue and put foam between the vinyl and the plastic so the vinyl doesn't come away from the plastic. Well, thanks for watching. Really appreciate it, and I'll catch you on the next one. Cheers. Oh, there it looks. Bugger me. That's it.
A video of this.
Oh, well, I'm busy. Oops, shit. Nearly broke it. Bang.